Why do we bring God glory? What's the purpose of bringing God glory? Well, actually, in Numbers chapter 28 and 29, we find answers to that. So let's dig in together. Good morning, I'm Elizabeth Inman. This is our one-year daily Bible study. I have a very, very, very special unspoken request. I'll be able to talk more about it later, but for now, this is one of those days that I look on here and see who's coming on here day in and day out. Andy's on with us. Dawn drove in all the way from Bartlesville to be here with us this morning, so we're not going to see her name on the screen. As our Debbie's come on, and as Nancy and Sherry, and there's Cassie and Paul and all of you faithful ones of this community. I don't want to leave anybody out, but there's nobody I'd rather bring this prayer request to than you guys, my Dream Big girls. This community and my Dream Big girls, because this community has more than just girls in it. So Melissa and Eileen, just not able to give details today, but I don't have to give you guys details because you guys know God knows. God knows. So just unspoken prayer request this morning. We've already got it down in our prayer journal. And so happy to have Dawn here with us today. This is her first time at the table. Oh, and Montana came in. Oh, yay. Montana volunteers at our local churches. Our church's food bank on Thursdays. And Marley's here with us this morning. And so be sure and put your prayer requests down. Again, at moments like this, I can't begin to tell you how grateful I am that you've chosen to be a part of this community, that you've chosen to read all the way through the Bible today. When that phone call in the night comes, like what happened last night, and then you open up the next day to the reading, and it's Psalm 62 that says this: "Let all that I am wait quietly before God, for my hope is in him. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, where I will not be shaken." And you just know that there's nothing hidden from God, nothing hidden from him. He captures every tear in his bottle. He writes every tear down in his book. And then we can come together in a community like this with our Debbies that are on, and Melissa and Cassie and Nancy and our multiple Melissas, not just one. And I know that you guys immediately pray. That's what we do for each other. I don't want it to become a routine that we say, put your prayer requests in. And I repent. Maybe it's done that. Maybe it seemed that way at times. But I am telling you, one of our greatest blessings, besides the ability to pick up God's love letter and read in it and get what we need every single day, is the community that he has created and bonded our hearts together through this Bible study, that we know we can count on faith-filled prayers, even when I have to say unspoken right now. Unspoken right now. Do you know how valuable that is? I can't imagine going through life without this kind of connection. I can't imagine it. So I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for you. I'm beyond grateful for each one of you. So put your prayer requests in, knowing that we'll pray, knowing that God hears, knowing that God is our fortress, that He is our rock and our salvation. And then we'll dig in. We'll dig in. I'll make some other announcements tomorrow. But for today, I didn't have a whole lot of things written down. I only had a few things underlined. I only had one color. That means I'd made notes in today's reading of Numbers 28 and 29 in 1 year. And that year was in 2023. I hadn't written down anything prior or since until this morning. And wow, this morning was exactly what I needed. It was just exactly what I needed this morning. Because we're reading about all the sacrifices once again. It's on the 14th day of the first month in Numbers 28, verse 16. You must celebrate the Lord's Passover. So we know that Passover is a 7-day festival that takes place. We know what it's for. We've been reading all the way up through here. But then it goes into detail about exactly the requirements that God had for the Passover. And for days now, we've read about they had to give 2 lambs, they had to give grain, they had to give flour, they had to give olive oil, they had to give a liquid offering over and over. And then here we're talking about 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and seven 1-year-old male lambs, all with no defects. And it goes on in today's reading, there's 8 days of offerings. And 7 times in today's reading, it says it must be a pleasing aroma. And we've talked about that this year. The pleasing aroma has to do with our attitude. We're all supposed to be what Romans 8:1 says, a living sacrifice. We become the sacrifice. See, it started with the sacrifices under the law then. And that started from the death of the firstborn males when Pharaoh wouldn't let his people go. So let's remember what the first sacrifice was. Firstborn sons. Jesus is the firstborn son. And then is celebrated, and every sacrifice points to Jesus. Is this mine? Every sacrifice points to Jesus. Every sacrifice required blood of an animal, points to Jesus. It required lambs, bulls in today's reading, grain, flour, olive oil. Do you know what it took to make a quart of olive oil? Have you ever seen an olive tree? I mean, have you ever eaten any olives? Those had to be pressed to get the olive oil. The sacrifices, the offerings literally overlapped each other at this point in time because there was daily sacrifices, daily offerings they had to make, daily offerings they had to make. And then on top of the daily offerings, now the Passover. The daily ones were every morning, every night. And we read about it and we think, why do we have to read this? Why? I got a new revelation. Maybe it was only for me this morning. But as I was reading and I was getting so much out of it, it was like I was reflecting on the fact that I didn't have any notes. I had a few little notes from 2023 in today's reading. I can remember the times when I not a pleasing aroma, read these scriptures. Read them to check a box, to say, oh, I've read all the way through my Bible. And this morning, I was reflecting back about why. Why was it so hard for me to read these? Why did I make it hard? The Lord just said, y'all don't like rules and regulations. Oh, we don't like to go 55 miles an hour in a 55-mile speed zone. We'll go 57 just because we can. When God tells us to obey the laws of the land. And then he kept taking me deeper and deeper into this. And I want to share a little bit with it. And I took some notes because I don't ever want to forget what he told me this morning about these daily offerings. How much they had to give and give and give and give. What it took, not just for the moment in time of the sacrifice and offering, but what it took to grow that bull, to have that bull conceived, birthed, and raise it up with no defects. Same thing for the lambs, the goats, the turtle doves. To plant the seed in the ground, the grain, cover it up, and then wait for the harvest. And then what it took, the manual toil and labor it took to harvest the grain, to bring to these daily and yearly, sometimes monthly, offerings and festivals and sacrifices. Why? Why? The sheer number of animals, grain, oil, and wine needed for these sacrifices shows how blessed by God they were. I myself just say it would have been impossible without the blessings of God. I can't imagine it because I've got a microwave over there. I've got, what is that? I've got a new air fryer over there. I've got electricity. I've got 2 ovens. You can see them back there in the background. I mean, you want to talk about being blessed? Now, this is anything but bragging, y'all. This is me admitting that I can't fathom what it took, the kind of labor involved in all of this. Okay, move on, Elizabeth. See, today's reading is God's heart. It's showing how he hungers for our friendship, for our fellowship. He hungers for us to abide in him. He hungers for us to commune with him. And he doesn't want it to be just on a day of the week. He doesn't want it to be just during a monthly festival. He doesn't want it to be once a year at Passover. He doesn't even just want it to be the morning offering and the evening offering. Because see, in order to have those morning offerings and evening offerings, they had to grow the grain. They had to ferment the wine. They had to grow the lambs without defect. You know what that means? It's representative of, and it's God's heart saying, commune with me daily. Abide in me through all of your work. In fact, he writes down promises to us that if we will abide in him as we go about our work, it'll be anointed and we'll have grace and we won't have to strive in our daily work. That's how much he loves us. But this is representative of his longing for constant relationship, intimacy with us. See, he wanted as those grains was put into the soil, for the thought to be, I'm doing this for God. I'm doing this to bring God glory. Oh, there's that glory thing. I'm going to talk more about that. That as I go out every day and I water the livestock that has to be without blemish, I'm looking to make sure it's going to be good enough. The sacrifice will be good enough. Knowing that I can never be good enough. Now, in today, this year, 2026, knowing that Jesus was the only good enough sacrifice. And that my daily work has to be done in such a way that it is a pleasing aroma. I get up and I murmur and complain about going to school. Marley, that's not a pleasing aroma. When I get up every day and I murmur and complain about going to work, that's not a pleasing aroma. Instead, I should be praising God that I have a school to go to. I ought to be praising God that I've got a job to go to, that I've got work that I can do. Because see, He first loved us. He first loved us. And when we finally submit, when we finally yield and accept that love, then we go about the daily sacrifices, planting that grain, growing up that lamb for the slaughter, for the sacrifice, with joy in our hearts, because we're doing it for the Lord. That's what He longed for through all of this. He was showing us how to make every single teeny tiny thing we do about Him. About Him. The benefits is that when I raised the grain for the offering, I had enough grain to eat. That when I raised the turtle doves, I had enough that I could eat, because not all of them was without defect. Man, it started making more sense to me this morning. The pleasing aroma was mentioned 7 times just in today's reading. Numbers 28 and 29. 150 times in the Bible, it talks about us bringing God glory. Who does He say you are? See, these people knew who they were. They knew they were God's chosen. They knew they were His. Do you know that your primary identity is you are His? God says you are mine. If you just grasp that, you're eons ahead of most people, knowing who you are. You are His. You're His. Sacrifice, making yourself a living sacrifice. I die to self. I take up my cross and follow Him, says I give up all rights. I give up rights to my happiness. I give up rights to choose what makes me happy. When I seek God first, all things are added unto me, Matthew 6:33. All things. That means I'll be happy. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Our ongoing communion, not just sacrifices. It wasn't just about a sacrifice. Pleasing aroma. Is our sacrifice for Him a pleasing aroma? Growing the sacrifice. Growing the sacrifice brings purpose to our life. From our identity. See, they were His chosen people. They're the Israelites. God's chosen people. They're the only ones required to do this. They knew who they were. They knew their genealogy. I mean, all of today's reading, Luke, is the genealogy of Jesus. It's important for us to know who we are, who God says we are. The reason they knew they were the Israelites is because God named them. The reason they knew they were His, because God said, you are mine. You are mine. You will be my people and I will be your God, over and over again. He's speaking to you and me when we read those scriptures. He's telling us that we are His. It becomes my identity. And from my identity, I'm His chosen one. I offer living sacrifices. I am a living sacrifice. And I'll set about my work knowing that when I run a financial services organization, every eon, every little teeny minuscule effort made is the living sacrifice to bring Him glory. It doesn't matter if I'm cleaning toilets. It doesn't matter if I'm cleaning toilets. If we've accepted the love that this is given in, we are happy to clean toilets. And we'll clean toilets with excellence. I'll be the best toilet cleaner there is. And grateful to do it. Grateful to do it. It brings purpose. Growing the sacrifice brings purpose to our life. What is our purpose? 150 times it tells us our purpose is to bring Him glory. And do we bring Him glory because He's an egotistical God and He just wants all the glory? No. We bring Him glory so that others will want what we have. And what we have is Him. It all begins and ends with love. Love is God. God is love. They'll want what we have, and what we have is Him. They'll want Him. And the circle of life is completed. Wow. Do you live your life in purpose? What is your purpose? You'll find it in these pages. You'll find your purpose reading Numbers 28 and 29. It brings daily focus on God. Oh, I got to get up and go check that bull. I got to make sure there's water for him. I got to feed the bull. I got to tend to the sheep. I've got to tend to the lambs. I've got to tend to the goats. I've got to go out and make sure the weeds are out of the grain that's growing, the wheat. Fill in the blanks with what you got to do today. I have to bring Him glory today. And it's not a have to. I get to bring God glory today by doing a webinar in my business. We do these daily sacrifices. We clean the toilets so we abide in Him. As they set out to grow all this wine and grain and turtle doves and animals for sacrifice, it was God's way of showing that in everything we do, abide in Him. We bring glory so others see Him in us, and they will come to Him. It's our purpose in life. It is purpose. And it's our purpose from our identity because I'm His. I want everybody to see and know and understand that I'm His. Above all else, I'm His. Nothing is more important than being His. Part of the reason that we don't like reading Numbers and Leviticus and the begats and the begots. We don't like rules. We don't like regulations. See, we were created to be free. There's nothing more free than a baby taking its first breath. Yahweh. Yahweh. Ooh, I love that. Freedom. Freedom. They don't have to get up and go to work. They don't have to change their own diaper. They don't even have to feed themselves. They have to accept the food when it comes. We were born to be free. And then we allow the things of this earth, the things in this earth, the evil in this world to bind us and oppress us until we accept the freedom that's ours again through Jesus Christ. Totally free. I don't have to do all these sacrifices anymore. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to clean the toilets. I get to, because the love in me, the faith rises up in me, and because of faith, I cannot be idle. Because of love, I cannot be idle. It's the reason I've not retired. I have yet to find that word anywhere in here. I get asked all the time. I retired 16 years ago from my first career. Elizabeth, when are you going to slow down? Elizabeth, when are you going to stop? I'm not. And I have no desire to slow down. I have desire to do what I do in Sabbath rest. No more striving. I wish I'd have got that revelation 40 years ago. Worth is established by what you're willing to pay for it. What did it cost them to do these morning offerings, evening offerings, and then throw on top of it the Passover sacrifices? What did it cost them? In many cases, I believe it cost them everything, but yet God provided. Worth is established by what you're willing to pay for it. The sacrifices. God gave his only son to pay the price for you and for me. How much valuable does that say we are to God? How valuable are you to Jesus? He's the one that willingly died for you. No greater love than this, than a man lay down his life for his friends. So much. It all points to Jesus, and Luke chapter 3 is all about Jesus. You know, Matthew gives us the genealogy of Joseph, and then Luke gives us the genealogy of Mary. So once again, they can't disprove the Bible because the Bible proves itself. They can't deny. They've tried. And they'll keep trying. They'll keep trying. You know, back in the day that we're reading about Numbers, the whole year was covered and conditioned by these solemn and religious ceremonies. And all of it was related as unto God. Does everything you do related as unto God? Sacred. When you clean the toilets, it's sacred. When you dig the ditches, it's sacred. When you sign the executive order, it's sacred. But is it a pleasing aroma? Are we doing it as unto the Lord? Are we bringing God glory by everything we do? These sacrifices consisted of 1,086 lambs, 113 bulls, 32 rams, 1 ton, it was more than 1 ton of flour, 1,000 bottles of olive oil, and 1,000 bottles of wine. In the days of Jesus, there's a record of 250,600 Passover lambs being sacrificed at one Passover, just by individual households, not by the priests, meaning that there would be even more if they counted what the priests did. Wow. Yeah, it cost them everything. And it costs us everything. To be a living sacrifice, he's asking us to give up everything for him because he's already given us everything. The Bible says that everything you see was created by him for us, and we were created by him for his pleasure. His pleasure. It's part of your identity. You are his pleasure. the Psalms, just I've already gone there, but I wait quietly before God, Psalm 62, for my victory comes from him. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress where I will never be shaken. Unshakable in him. Unshakable. Stop being the victim. Stop riding the waves, high then low, high then low. Unshakable. Unshakable. In him, in our identity of who we are.